Hello future millionaires, today we're diving deep into CS2 cases and ranking them from S tier to D tier based on real data and market performance. We'll be looking at everything that matters, the skins inside each case, ROI if you open them, year to date performance and even future price predictions, what I think these cases could be worth from a year from now on. On top of that, I'll highlight what I believe is the best skin in every case, check how many exist in the database and find out whether demand is truly there or if the price is just being pumped without reason. We'll also look at the supply levels and how often these cases are being opened, since that plays a massive role in determining long-term value. And of course, this entire tier list is based on my personal opinion, so please do your own due diligence before investing or opening cases. If you enjoy data-driven CS content and want to stay ahead of the market, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments which cases you think deserve the S tier. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, first up, we have got the Esports 2014 Summer Case. Right now, I'm putting this one in the low B tier, but it might drop down to a C tier by the end of the video, depending on how the other cases will perform. Now, in terms of year-to-date performance, it's been pretty strong, about a 60% growth. To put it in perspective, that's roughly 3 times better than the S&P 500, which tracks the biggest companies in America. So on paper, this case has done really well. But when you dig deeper into the numbers, the demand just isn't that strong. If you have bought these in bulk, you probably have to hold on to them for a while before you can lock in your profits, because overall demand for this case is really low. In the last month, around 7,600 cases were opened. Not a huge number, but considering the low overall supply, it makes sense. There simply aren't many of these cases being sold or opened anymore. When we look at the ROI from opening the case, it's sitting at around 50%, so definitely not one of the better cases to open. There are plenty of cases out there with a much higher ROI that give you better value for your money. As for the skins inside, to be honest, not a lot of them stand out to me. My personal favorites are the Desert Eagle Crimson Web and of course the Keramids and the M9 bayonets. I'm not really a fan of the red skins. They are valuable, but for that kind of money, I think you can get much better investments in other M4 or AK skins that have a stronger demand and better long-term potential. The knives are definitely solid, but the case price is just way too high, especially since you can get the same knife patterns from cheaper cases. Looking ahead, my price prediction from 1 year from now on is at around $18, which is about a 20% increase from today's price of $15. So there is still some upside, but I don't think it's going to much move more. Mainly because demand is limited and I think there are better investments to be made than this case. So overall, strong year-to-date performance, average ROI and low demand. For now, I'm keeping it in a low B tier, but if other cases outperform it later in the list, this one might slide down to a C. Next up, we've got the Operation Breakout case, and this one is going straight into the A tier. The year-to-date performance has been around 36%, which might not sound crazy at first, but the liquidity on this case is still actually pretty decent, especially for its price range. It's moving steadily and that's exactly what you want to see for a case like this. In the past month, around 140,000 cases were opened. That's a big number, showing there is still strong interest and consistent activity in this case. Now, when it comes to the ROI, it's sitting at around 50%. For a pure profit, it's not the best, but let's be real. People don't open this case to get a good ROI, they open it pure because of the knives. The M4A1S Cyrex is a nice skin, but let's be honest, you're not opening this case for that. You're opening it pure for the butterfly knives. This is one of the few cases where you can get specific butterfly variants which make it stand out. It's definitely an expensive case, but for what it offers, especially when it comes to golds, it's a pretty solid pick. Looking ahead, my price prediction for 1 year from now on is around $15, which is about a 50% increase from its current price at around 10. So there's still some solid upside here. Personally, I wouldn't open this case. The ROI just doesn't make sense, but I would hold it as an investment. Between the strong liquidity, exclusive butterfly knives and steady performance, the Operation Breakout case earns its spot in the A tier. Next up, we've got the Chroma case, and I'm putting this one in the B tier, but above the Esports 2014 Summer Case. Year-to-date performance has been really strong at around 77%, which is impressive, but despite that, the liquidity of this case is quite a bit lower. You can also see that the price struggles to break above the $7 mark, which suggests there's some resistance at that level. When we look at the unboxing numbers, you can see that it's not getting opened a lot, only about 43,000 times in the last month. And if you zoom out to the yearly data, you can actually see a downward trend in the number of unboxings. The ROI for opening the case is solid at around 64%, which is way better than most cases. But again, most people don't open a Chroma case for ROI. They open it for the knives. You have got Keramids and M9 bayonets in here, which are always desirable. However, the other Chroma cases, Chroma 2 and 3, are cheaper to buy and contain the same knives, which makes them more attractive options for both investors and openers. The main difference is that those cases have higher supply, which slightly limits their growth potential compared to this one. My price prediction for 1 year from now on is around $8, which will be roughly around 90% increase from today's price of about $6.70. So there's a little upside here, but nothing major. Personally, I wouldn't invest in this one, not because it's bad, but because the other Chroma cases offer similar rewards at lower prices at the moment. So overall, strong yearly performance, decent ROI, but low liquidity and decreasing unboxing trends. That's why I'm placing the Chroma case in a B tier above the Esports 2014 summer case, but still not high enough to reach the A. The Chroma 2 case has a lot of supply, it's around 40 million at the moment. Unboxing trends are lowering as well, just like the Chroma 3 case. But those have a supply of around 134 million. So what I'm going to do is put the Chroma 2 case next to the Chroma case, and Chroma 3 I will put in A, just because there's a lot of potential for the Chroma 3 case, because they're cheaper and they're more getting unboxed, and I like the M4 in the Chroma 3 case more than in the Chroma 2 case. Next up, we have got the Operation Vanguard case, and I'm placing this one in the high B tier. Year-to-date performance comes in at around 60%, which is a good return. But honestly, I can't really find a clear reason why it's up that much. In the past month, only about 11,000 cases were opened, so not a lot of activity. The supply also isn't really going down right now, mostly because people just aren't opening them and still get them from the rare drops, which keeps the market stocked. In the past 3 years you can also see that just minus 1 million in the cases. The ROI comes around at 73%, which makes it one of the better performing cases in terms of return. But I don't really think people are opening this case for the knives, since the Revolver Case offers the same knives and is much cheaper. So my guess is that the AK-47 Wasteland Rebel is what's driving the interest here. It's a nice skin and I think one of the good investments, especially in minimal wear condition. It still has a decent liquidity, which is impressive for such an old skin. Looking ahead, my price prediction for 1 year from now is around $7.5, which is roughly a 37% increase from today's price of about $5.46. So overall, strong year-to-date performance, solid ROI, but unclear growth drivers and limited openings. Still, with the Wasteland Rebel and a healthy ROI, I think the Vanguard case deserves a spot in the high B tier. Next up, we have got the Falchion case, and I'm placing this one in the B tier as well. I will place this between the Chroma case and the Vanguard case. The year-to-date performance is sitting at around 60%, which is solid. And if we look at the past month, about 117,000 cases were opened, which is actually a pretty good activity for a case of this age. If we look at the lifetime supply you can see that cases are being opened a lot more frequently than they're dropping. And that's a very bullish sign. It means overall supply is slowly tightening, which is healthy for long-term price growth. That said, I don't really understand why the Falchion case is being opened that much lately. The knives aren't that special, it's only the Falchion knives, which aren't exactly the top tier knives in demand. The red skins are pretty good, but there are definitely better AKs and AWP skins out there to invest or play with them. The ROI is also pretty decent. It's sitting at around 62%, 63%, which is decent but nothing exceptional. Pretty much average compared to most mid-tier cases. Looking ahead, my price prediction for 1 year from now on is around $3, which is around a 36% increase from its current price of about $2.20. So overall, strong opening activity, bullish supply trend and steady growth. But with average knives and average ROI, that's why the Falchion case takes top position within the B tier, but still doesn't quite make it to the A tier. Next up, we've got the Shadow case, and I'm putting this one in the B tier, but above the Falchion case. The year-to-date performance has been pretty solid, with around 150%, which is one of the stronger gains among the mid-tier cases. In terms of unboxing, the numbers are about the same as the Falchion case, sitting at around 110,000 range for the past month, showing steady and healthy activity. What I personally like about this case is the USPS kill confirm. This skin alone has a year-to-date performance of around 300%. And I generally think this has room to grow, which is a good sign for the case overall. Most people open this case for the red skin and not for the knives, since the shadow daggers aren't just that desirable compared to the other knife sets. The ROI is sitting at around 66%, which is the same as the Falchion case, so nothing special there. But the supply is still pretty high with around 70 million cases left, although the unboxing rate is also quite strong, meaning the market balance still looks healthy. The other lineups are pretty decent as well. You have the Golden Koi and the AK-47 frontside Misty. These are all recognizable and popular skins. Right now, the price is still consolidating at around $2.50 mark, but I think for the next year, price prediction will be around the all-time highs, so around 340s. This is a considerable and nice increase of around 39%. So overall, excellent year to date. Performance, high quality reds, and steady unboxing activity make the Shadow case a strong B-tier pick, sitting above the Falchion case and one of the most promising cases in this range. Next up, we have got the Revolver case, and I'm placing this one in between the Chroma cases in the B tier. Year-to-date performance has been solid at around 50%, but not outstanding compared to some other cases we have covered. In terms of unboxing, the activity is pretty strong. About 160,000 cases were opened in the last month. which shows there's still good amount of interest in this one. The ROI sits around 67%, which is fair, but let's be honest, this isn't really a case you open for the ROI or even the regular skins. You only open it for the knife. I don't think there are that much nice skins in this case, only the point this area. I wouldn't open these cases. Compared to the Vanguard, this one is pretty cheap, but the actual skin pool is pretty underwhelming. Most of the skins here are mid-tier at best, and there's nothing that really stands out as a must-have. So realistically, the only reason people open this case is for the knives. Looking ahead, my price prediction is around $5, so that's the all-time high, which is around a 25% increase from the current price of around $4. I don't see it going much higher than that, simply because the case itself just isn't that strong. So overall, decent unboxings, average ROI, and okay growth, but carried entire by the knife potential. That's why the Revolver Case sits in the B tier right next to the Chroma Case. Next up, we have got the Operation Wildfire Case, and I'm placing this one in the B tier as well, between the Falchion Case and the Chroma Case. The year-to-date performance sits at around 63%, which is a solid return for a case in this range. In the past month, around 87,000 unboxings were made, which is a decent activity, not the highest, but enough to show that the case still gets attention. The overall supply sits at around 60 million cases, so there's still quite a lot of them out there. The ROI from opening this case sits at around 71%, which is actually pretty good, but realistically, you only open this case for the AK-47 fuel injector. The Bowie knives are not what players and investors want. My price prediction for this case sits at around $5.50, which is roughly an 18% increase from today's price of $4.65. So there's a bit of upside, but nothing huge. Overall, the Wildfire case has a strong red skin, steady unboxing numbers, and a solid ROI, but the knife pool really holds it back. That's why I'm keeping it in the B tier, alongside the other mid-level performers. Next up, we've got the CSGO weapon case. I'll be putting 1, 2 and 3 in the same tier, and that's the C tier. I'll be putting the CSGO weapon case 1 in as first, then the third one, and then the second one. That is because the first one has the AWP Lightning Strike and the AK-47 case hardened. The third case has an ROI of 85%, so that's really high. And the second case has only an ROI of 81% with the Scout Blood in the Water. The price prediction, I don't think it's going back to the all-time high very soon. I think it will just consolidate at around 120 and nothing much more. They are not getting opened a lot, and there's not a lot of liquidity, so I don't think the price is going much further in the future, as in next year. So that's why I will be putting these cases in the C tier, because they're not really a good investment in my opinion, and I think there are better investments for other cases. Next up, we have got the Gamma case and the Gamma 2 case, and I'm putting both of them in the A tier, but the first Gamma case definitely earns the higher spot. Both cases have had a similar year-to-date performance, sitting at around 25% to 30%, and they're valued almost the same in the market right now. The main reason I'm ranking the Gamma 1 case higher is because of the supply. It has about 50% less supply than the Gamma 2 case. The Gamma 1 case has about 50 million left, and the Gamma 2 case 100 million, which in my opinion makes it more scarce and gives it a better long-term potential. I also think the reds in the Gamma 1 case are just better overall than the ones in the Gamma 2 case. They've got stronger designs, in my opinion, tend to hold demand better among collectors and players, but both cases have had a solid mix of desirable skins and good knife potential, which keeps them relevant even years later. My price prediction for the next year is around $6.50, up from about $4.50 right now. That's roughly a 44% increase if the trend continues. So overall, consistent performance, limited supply for Gamma 1, and stronger reds make the Gamma 1 case the better pick, but both Gamma cases earn a place in the A tier. Next up, we have the Glove case, and I'm placing this one in the B tier as well. I'll be putting it between the Shadow case and the Falchion case. The year-to-date performance has been really strong, around 100%, which is an excellent return. However, the unboxing numbers are starting to trend down, as you can see in this graph. There's still 40 million glove cases in supply, so it's still a pretty large market, and that high supply probably keeps the price at the same rate as the consolidation at the 15 mark. When we look at the ROI, it's 44%, so it isn't great realistically, and the only thing that keeping this case desirable are just the gloves itself. The rest of the skin pool is just pretty average in my opinion. My price prediction of this case is around $20, up from 15 right now. That's roughly a 33% increase, but I don't see it going much higher than that, mainly because of the huge supply and the fact that the gloves are the only draw here. So overall, a great yearly performance, but with average ROI, declining unboxings, and a large remaining supply. The glove case earns a solid spot in the B tier. Next up, we've got the Spectrum case and the Spectrum 2 case, and I'm putting them both in the high A tier. Both cases have a year-to-date performance of around 45%, which is a really solid return, and both remain highly active in the market. However, I actually think the Spectrum 2 case is a bit underrated as an investment compared to the original Spectrum case. More by that, I will tell you later why. In terms of the liquidity, the Spectrum 2 case has around 20 million extra cases. So in total, they have around 60 million, while the Spectrum 1 case only has 40 million. When it comes to the ROI, it's also pretty close. The Spectrum 1 case sits around 61% ROI, while the Spectrum 2 case has a slightly lower at 55%. So it's still pretty even here. Where the real difference comes from is in the skin lineup. I get why the Spectrum 1 case is more expensive. It's got, for example, the AK-47 Bloodsport, and the USPS Neo Noir and the M4A1S Decimator. All are pretty strong and popular reds and pinks. The Spectrum 2 case features the AK-47 The Empress, which is in my opinion a underrated and has great long-term potential. If you look at the database for the AK-47 Bloodsport in factory new, you will find that it has around 65,000 items, while the AK-47 The Empress in factory new only has about 14,000. That's a huge difference in supply, which is exactly why I think the Empress and the Spectrum 2 case overall have a better long-term upside. Looking ahead, my price prediction for the Spectrum 1 is about $7, up from around $5.75. That's roughly a 22% increase. My price target for the Spectrum 2 is about $6, up from $4.15 right now, which would be a 45% increase next year. So, while Spectrum 1 case is still more well known and currently more expensive than the Spectrum 2, actually looks like the better investment going forward. That's why the Spectrum cases sits comfortably in the A tier, but as an investment I would personally rank Spectrum 2 slightly higher than the Spectrum 1. Next up, we have got the Operation Hydra case, and I'm putting this one down in the C tier. I'll be putting it at next to the CSGO Weapon Case 3 and 2. The year-to-date performance has been really solid at around 60%, which looks good at first, but in the past month only about 13,000 cases have been opened for the Operation Hydra case. So not a ton of activity, but enough to show there's still some movement. We don't have the exact number on how many there are left in the supply, but given how rare they have become, it's safe to assume it's relatively low. The ROI of this case is around 85%. Which sounds great, but you have got to remember, no one is buying this case anymore to get purple or a blue. Everyone is trying to get the AWP or the gloves. The big problem with this case is the price. Sitting at around $36, $37 is just way overvalued in my opinion. There are so many better investments you could have made in CS2 market for that amount of money. My price prediction for 1 year from now on is around 40, which would be only about a 8% increase from today's price of roughly $37. So overall, good ROI but low activity and high overvaluation. That's why the Operation Hydra case sits firmly in the C tier. It looks great on paper, but it's just not a smart investment at these levels. Next up, we have got the Clutch case, and this is the first case I'm going to put in the A tier. The year-to-date performance has been incredible, sitting at around 113%. Which is one of the best returns across all active cases. On top of that, it has a high liquidity, meaning it's still heavily traded and very active on the market. The ROI sits around 47%, so it's not the best from an unboxing standpoint, but just like many other cases, you don't open the Clutch case for the ROI, you open it to get one of the gloves. The M4A4 Neo Noir inside the case has also performed really well, with a year-to-date performance of around 500% in factory new. However, I personally wouldn't invest in that skin, mainly because there are so many in existence that I don't really see how it sustains that kind of growth long term. As for the supply, it's currently very high, around 230 million cases, but the unboxing numbers are also really strong, with about 500,000 cases opened just last month. That level of activity shows this case has a lot of momentum. Even with the high supply, I think this is a great long-term hold, especially because of the strong glove selections it offers. My price prediction for next year is around $2. So this means it will be roughly a 100% increase from today's price of about $1. Overall, amazing yearly growth, high liquidity and great glove potential easily make the Clutch case an A tier investment and one of the best long-term holds in the current market. Next up, we have got the Horizon case, and I'm putting this one at the top of the A tier. The year-to-date performance is around 60%, which is solid and shows consistent growth. The remaining supply is sitting at about 27 million, and last month alone we saw over 150,000 cases opened. It's a healthy level of activity and interest. The ROI is around 55%, which is nothing special, but what really makes this case stand out are the skins and knives. And I'm personally a big fan of the AK-47 Neo Rider, which is the red tier skin in this case. Its factory new condition has a year-to-date performance of around 160%, which is impressive, and in the database you can also see that there are only 13,000 Neo Riders in factory new. So supply is pretty low, not too high, and the demand is pretty high for this AK skin. I think it's a good long-term investment, and especially in the factory new condition. The knives in this case are, in my opinion, also pretty underrated, featuring the Tela knife and the stilettos, which have both been gaining popularity among collectors and players. My price prediction for this case is around $3, so you will see the all-time high again, and this would bring it back to around a 30% increase from today's price at $2.30. Overall, solid year-to-date performance, underrated knives, and a strong red AK skin make the Horizon case a great pick, and in my opinion, the highest ranked case in the A tier at the moment. Next up, we have got the Danger Zone case, and I'm putting this one in the S tier. It absolutely deserves it in my opinion. The year-to-date performance is pretty good, at 100%, and the liquidity is also very high, meaning it's still heavily traded and easy to move. The supply of this case is really high, with around 160 million cases left, and roughly around 400,000 cases got unboxed last month. So the activity is also still there in the case, and it probably will be for a long time because the case is pretty relatively cheap. For the ROI, we have an ROI of 50%. It's decent. You got some decent skins, red skins in this case. For example, the AK-47 Asimov and the AWP Neo Noir. And of course, the knives, just like the Horizon case. So the stilettos and the Tela knives. The AK-47 Asimov and the AWP Neo Noir both have a good year-to-date return as well, with the Asimov at 90% in factory new and the AWP Neo Noir at 80% in factory new. I looked at the database of the Asimov in factory new, and there are only 7,000 at the moment of the factory new version of the Asimov. So I really think it's a good investment to have a AK-47 Asimov in factory new, because here the supply is also really low and it's a good skin, especially for in the future as an investment. My price prediction for the Danger Zone case for next year is going to be around $3, which is a 50% increase from today's price at around $2. So overall, a fantastic skin collection, great knife potential, high liquidity, and strong yearly performance. That's why the Danger Zone earns its spot in the S tier. Next up, we've got the Prisma case and the Prisma 2 case, and I'm putting both of them in the S tier as well, but I personally think the Prisma 1 case deserves the higher spot here. I think they're also both better than the Clutch case, so that's why I'm putting them in the middle of the Danger Zone and the Clutch case. The year-to-date performance for both are around 110% for the Prisma 1 case and around 100% for the Prisma 2 case. So both are performing really well. In terms of supply, the Prisma 1 case has about 110 million cases in circulation with roughly 300,000 unboxings last month, and the Prisma 2 case has about 140 million cases with around 400,000 unboxings. So both are still being actively opened, but there's also a lot of cases. That's why they're also that cheap. Some people might swap these two around depending on which skin they prefer. The Prisma 2 case has a strong lineup with the AK-47 Phantom Disruptor and the M4A1S Player 2 as the red skin. Both are really popular, but personally I'm a bigger fan of the Prisma 1 case, especially with the M4A4, the Emperor. I checked at the database and saw that there are only 10,000 of these in factory new. Then I checked their year-to-date performance, and you see that they have a big year-to-date performance of 156%. So I think Prisma 2 has a slightly more popular skins for active players, but I think that the Prisma 1 case is actually the better investment potential overall. My price prediction for these two cases are both around $2.75 from the current price of around $180 for both, so that's roughly a 53% increase. So overall, a great year-to-date growth, active unboxings, and solid skin lineups, but both Prisma cases in the S tier, with Prisma 1 just edging out Prisma 2 as the better long-term investment. Next up, we've got the Esports 2013 case and the Esports Winter 2013 case, and I'm putting both of them at the bottom of the C tier. Between the two, the Esports 2013 case gets a slightly higher spot, mainly because of the skins inside. The main reason these cases are ranked so low is because there's almost no liquidity in them. Nobody is buying these cases anymore, even though the year-to-date performance has been pretty good, at around 64% for the Esports 2013 case and 50% for the Esports 2013 Winter case. The liquidity is not high, but you can also see that the case unboxings from Esports 2013 case are only 3,500 and in the Esports 2013 Winter case are only 15,000. So not a lot of people are opening these cases anymore. When it comes to the skins, the only skin I'm actually personally interested in is the AWP Boom. According to the database, you can see that there are only 1,200 in factory new of the AWP Boom, and the year to date of this AWP skin is 70%. But if you look at the liquidity, it's pretty hard to sell it probably because nobody is buying this AWP anymore. Overall, these cases just don't have much going for them right now, and because they have low liquidity, very little unboxing activity and minimal demand. So my price prediction for these cases are both roughly around the current levels, with little to no growth expected in the near future. And I think there are better investments to be made than these cases. So overall, decent nostalgia value and one iconic skin. But from investment perspective, the Esports 2013 and Esports Winter 2013 cases sit firmly at the bottom of the C tier. Next up, we have got the Operation Shattered Web case, and I'm putting this one in the A tier, right between the Spectrum 1 and 2 cases. The year-to-date performance has been pretty solid, with 90%, showing it's still holding up really well compared to most other operation cases. In the past month, there have been about 13,000 cases opened, which isn't much, but that makes sense since the supply is pretty low overall, even though we don't know the exact number of the cases remaining. The red tier skin, I think, is really one of my personal favorites. It's a really clean design and definitely one of the highlights of this case. The skeleton knives that come with this case are also amazing. They have stayed consistently popular since the case was released and still hold strong market value. Looking at the database, the ARP containment breach in minimal wear has around 13,000 in existence, and if we look at the year to date from the containment breach in minimal wear, it's sitting at around 40%, and I think it still has room to grow, making it a solid long-term investment. My price prediction for the Shattered Web case sits at around $11 in a year from today. Price today is around $8, which will be roughly a 38% increase. So overall, great skins, amazing knives, low supply and consistent growth make the Operation Shattered Web case a strong A tier pick, sitting nicely between the Spectrum 1 and 2 cases. Next up, we have got the CS20 case, and I'm putting this one in the B tier between the Shadow case and the Glove case. The year-to-date performance has been pretty solid at around 130%, which is a great growth overall, but despite that strong performance, the supply is still very high, sitting at around 60 million cases with an unboxing rate per month of 150,000 cases per month. While the case can definitely go higher over time, I just don't see it happening quickly with that much supply still out there. The ROI isn't particularly strong either, and in my opinion, the skin lineup inside the case is fairly average. The only standout is the Wildfire in my opinion, which is a great play skin and can definitely highlight the case overall. I'm not a big fan of the classic knives, so that's why I'm putting the case also in the B tier, because the golds that are in the case are not particularly a good investment in my opinion. My price prediction for the CS20 case is around $2 in 1 year, so it's up slightly from today's price of about $170, which would be roughly an 80% increase. So overall, good year-to-date performance, but with high supply, slow unboxing rates, average skins, the CS20 case earns a spot in the B tier, but it's not one I expect to move much in the short term. Next up, we've got the Fracture case, and this one is a bit tricky to rank. Let me be clear, long term I think this case is absolutely an A or even an S tier pick, but when we're talking about short term performance, like over the next year, I will personally place it in the B tier, between the Shadow case and the CS20. And I know that it's going to be controversial, but hear me out. The year to date has been pretty solid at 150%, and the liquidity is high, meaning it's one of the more actively traded cases out there. However, supply is just massive with around 360 million cases, which is one of the highest of any case in the market. But at the same time, the unboxing rate is huge too, sitting at about 3 million cases opened per month. That combination means that while supply is large, there's also a lot of consistent demand, especially since the cases are still cheap and people can open them easily. The ROI is about 50%, so the ROI is pretty average. And I'll be honest, the skin lineup isn't my favorite, but I think it's nobody's favorite. The knives in this case are really solid with the skeleton knives again, which are definitely a long-term value potential. My price prediction for the Fracture case would be that it will consolidate at around the $1 mark for a while, up slightly from the current price of about 70 cents. That's roughly a 43% increase, but I think it will take time before it makes any big moves beyond that. So overall, strong yearly performance, great knives and massive unboxing activity, but also high supply and average skins. In the short term, I would call it a B tier, but in the long term, I could easily see the Fracture case becoming an A or even an S tier investment. Next up, we have got the Operation Broken Fang case, and I'm placing this one in the B tier, right next to the CS20 and the Glove case. The year-to-date performance has been great, around 105%, showing that the case is still performing well overall. In the last month, around 60,000 cases were opened. It's not a huge number, but it's enough to show there's still consistent activity. We don't know the exact supply, but it's safe to assume it's moderate, not extremely rare, but not as common as some of the high supplied cases either. The ROI stands at around 50%, which is pretty average, but what makes this case stand out, its skins and glove selection. I'm a big fan of the M4A1S print stream, and of course the Snow Leopard gloves, the Slingshot gloves and the Nox gloves. Looking at the database of the print stream in factory new, there are about 16,000 in existence, which is relatively low. It also had a year-to-date performance of around 96%, and I think it still has room to grow, which is bullish for the case as a whole. My price prediction for the case is around $15 in 1 year, up from today's price of about $12, so that's roughly a 25% increase. So overall, strong yearly growth, solid skins and desirable gloves keep the broken Fang case in the B tier, but right on the upper end next to the CS20 and the glove cases. Next up we have got the Snakebite case, and I'm placing this one at the very top of the A tier. If you had asked me about this case a year ago, I would have easily said S tier, but after the massive run up we have seen, it's just not quite at that level anymore. The year to date has been phenomenal, up about 200%. Which is one of the best across all cases. It's had an amazing few months, but also means the easy gains are probably behind us for now. One of the main reasons I'm keeping it in an A tier instead of an S tier is because of the monthly unboxings. They have been declining because if you look since March we saw over 800,000 cases were opened, but now it's down to around 600,000. The supply is still very high, sitting at around 188 million cases, and it will likely stay that way since the price is still fairly cheap, which encourages people to keep opening it. The ROI of this case is above average at 66%, which is solid. I really like the red tier USPS trader skin, as well as the glove selection of course, both of which give it a great long-term appeal. Looking at the database of the USPS trader in factory new, there are only 10,000 of these, so if we look at the year to date from the USPS Trader Factory New, it's up about 263%, which is massive. I do think it's a bit overpriced right now, but if it dips, I would definitely keep an eye on it. It's a good long-term skin to hold, I believe. My price prediction for this case will probably be around $1.10 for the next year, up from about 83 cents today, roughly a 32% increase. So overall, incredible yearly performance, great ROI and strong long-term potential, but with declining unboxings and high supply, I'm putting the Snakebite case at the top of the A tier, just below the S tier cases. Next up we've got the Operation Riptide case, and I'm putting this one in the B tier, just above the glove case. It's definitely one of the more expensive cases, currently sitting at around $16, but it's held up well with the year-to-date performance of about 120%. That's a strong return, especially for a case that's already at a higher price point. The downside though is that the liquidity is quite low, meaning there aren't as many trades happening compared to other cases. In the past month, around 45,000 Riptide cases were opened, which is actually pretty good for something at this price range. But we don't know the exact supply, so it's hard to see how many are still in circulation. The ROI for opening this case is sitting at around 40%, which isn't great, but let's be honest, no one is opening this case for the ROI. You open it purely because to get the butterfly knives, which are the main draw here. I am personally not a big fan of the red skins or any other skins in this case. They're fine, but nothing really stands out compared to other cases. My price prediction from 1 year on out now is sitting at around $20, so up from about $16, so that's roughly a 25% increase. I don't think it will reach $30 anytime soon. It's already at a strong run and growth will likely slow down from here on out. So, overall, great yearly performance, strong knives but low liquidity and average skins keep the Operation Riptide case comfortably in the B tier, sitting just above the glove case. Next up we have got the Dreams and Nightmares case, and I'm putting this one in the A tier but at the very bottom for now. The main reason it's ranked this low in the A tier is because it's still part of the active drop pool, meaning it's being dropped frequently. Once it eventually gets moved to the rare drop pool, I think this case could easily move up into the S tier, but for now it's limited by supply. The year-to-date performance isn't great, sitting at around 18%, which is one of the lowest growth rates among the A tier cases. Right now, There are roughly 230 million cases in supply and about 4 million cases are being unboxed each month, but with around 8 million new cases dropping monthly, the overall supply keeps growing by about 4 to 5 million cases every month. That constant increase really holds back the price. The ROI is around 50%, which is average, but this is another case that people only open mainly for the knives, not for the skins inside. The skin lineup is in my opinion pretty weak compared to other cases. My price prediction for this case would be around $2.50, so it's up slightly from today's price of about $2, which would be roughly a 25% increase. So, overall, average ROI, massive supply growth and frequent drops keep it at the bottom of the A tier for now. But once it leaves the active drop pool, the Dreams and Nightmares case could easily become an S tier in the long run. Next up, we have got the Recoil case, and I'm putting this one in the B tier for now. It's currently still part of the active drop pool, which keeps the supply really high, and that's the main reason it's not higher on the list. I do think this case has a long-term potential to move up into the A tier, but not within the next year. I'll be putting the case between the Fracture and the CS20 case. The year-to-date performance has been great at around 130%, and it has lots of liquidity because the case is cheap and easy to trade. Right now, there are about 240 million Recoil cases in circulation. Every month around 9 million cases drops and roughly 3 million are being opened, meaning about 6 million cases are added to the total supply each month. That steady increase in supply is what keeps the price from climbing faster. The ROI is sitting at around 60%, which is solid, and I personally really like the red USPS print stream. But again, just like most newer cases, people mainly open this one for the gloves or the knives in this case. My price prediction for the Recoil case is sitting at around 65 cents in 1 year, up from about 0.45 cents right now. That's roughly a 44% increase. So overall, strong year-to-date growth, high liquidity and good ROI, but the constant supply growth and the fact that it's still in the active drop pool keep the Recoil case in the B tier for now, with the A tier potential in the future. Next up, we've got the Revolution case, and I'm putting this one in the B tier, right next to the Recoil case, but slightly above it. Both cases share the same reasoning. They're still part of the active drop pool, so they have huge supply numbers and steady unboxings. But personally, I think the skins and gloves in the Revolution case are better, which is why I rank it slightly higher. The year-to-date performance is sitting at around 19%, and there's lots of liquidity since it's cheap and frequently traded. Right now the supply sits at around 170 million, with around 9 million new cases dropping each month and about 4 million being unboxed, which means roughly 5 million are added to the supply every month. The ROI is sitting at around 53%, slightly below average but not terrible either. I'm a big fan of the red M4A4 skin, and I also really like the gloves in this case. Both are solid reasons why people are still opening it, despite the high supply. My price prediction for the Revolution case is sitting at around 75 cents in 1 year from up. It's now sitting at around 60 cents, so it's roughly a 27% increase. So overall, high liquidity, decent ROI and great skins and gloves. But with rising supply and active drop status, the Revolution case fits nicely into the B tier, just above the Recoil case. Next up, we've got the Kilowatt case, and I'm placing this one in the B tier, right next to the Falchion case. Just like the Recoil case and the Revolution case, the Kilowatt case is still part of the active drop pool, which means there's a constant flow of new supply, keeping prices from running up. The year-to-date performance has been pretty negative, sitting at around minus 30%, which make it one of the few cases on this list that's down year over year. The supply is currently at 108 million cases, with roughly 9 million new drops per month and about 3 million cases being unboxed. So around 5.5 million cases are added to the supply every month. The steady increase really kept short-term price growth. The ROI is sitting at around 60%, which is fairly average. As for the skins, I actually like a few of them. The AK-47 Inheritance, great red tier skin, and I'm also a fan of the M4A1S Black Lotus and the Zeus Olympus. But aside from those, the rest of the case doesn't really stand out to me. I'm not a big fan of the kukri knives. My price prediction for 1 year from now on is sitting at around 70 cents, up from about 50 cents right now, so roughly a 40% increase. So overall, average ROI, declining short-term performance and rising supply keep the Kilowatt case in the B tier for now, sitting next to the Falchion case with some nice individual skins but limited short-term upside. Next up, we've got the Gallery case, and I'm putting this one in the highest spot within the A tier. This case has just been discontinued, And if there's one thing we've learned from the CS2 market, it's that every discontinued case tends to perform really well long term. The year-to-date performance is already solid at around 50%, and the case has a lot of liquidity, meaning it's actively traded and easy to buy or sell. In the past month, around 1.1 million cases have been opened, which is a huge number, showing that even after being discontinued, it's still getting a lot of attention. We don't know the exact total supply, but since it's part of the Armory drop pool, it's safe to assume there are still plenty of these cases in circulation. The ROI is strong at around 73%, which is well above average. However, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of the kukri knives overall. The Fade and the case hardened variants look great, but the rest just don't do it for me. What I really like about this case though is the M4A1S Vaporwave, which I think will be the main driver of its price going forward. It's clean and unique, and in my opinion, one of the best M4A1S designs. My price prediction from 1 year on now is around $2, up from about 1.40 right now. So that's roughly a 43% increase. So overall, recent discontinuation, great liquidity and strong ROI put the gallery case firmly at the top of the A tier. And if history repeats itself, it could easily push towards S tier over time. Next up, we've got the Fever case, and I'm placing this one in the A tier as well, sitting between the Horizon case and the Breakout case. Since May, the Fever case has climbed really high, already around 50%, largely fueled by the hype that came after the gallery case was discontinued. That momentum gave the strong push, but the case also stands on its own, because of a solid lineup of skins and knives. This month alone, it's been opened around 8 million times, which is a massive number and shows just how popular it is right now. We don't know the total supply, but the slightly very highest player can redeem this case through the Armory Pass using their stars, and a lot of people are doing exactly that. Personally, I think the Fever case has better skins than the gallery case. I really like the Alp print stream, which is a top tier red skin, and I'm also a big fan of the skeleton knives in this case. They add serious long-term potential. Long-term, I think the Fever case will outperform the gallery case, but in the short term, I expect it to stay relatively flat, because of the constant new supply coming from the Armory redemptions. My price prediction from 1 year from now is that it will sit around the same price as today, since so many players are still redeeming it every week. So overall, amazing skins, great knives and long-term potential, but the ongoing Armory redemptions keep it from breaking out higher right now. That's why the Fever case earns a solid spot in the A tier, between the Horizon case and the Breakout case. Next up, we've got the Winter Offensive case, and I'm putting it in the C tier. The year-to-date performance is around 20%, which is okay, not terrible, but definitely not impressive compared to other cases. There are still about 900,000 cases in supply. Both the monthly drops and unboxings sit at roughly 16,000 each. That balance keeps the overall supply stable. It's not really increasing or decreasing right now. The ROI for this case is sitting at around 75%, which is actually pretty decent, and that might be the main reason people open it when they get it dropped. In terms of skins though, the lineup is fairly average. The M4A1S Asimov is pretty good, but the real attraction here are just the gold knives like the M9 or the Karambits. My price prediction for this case is going to be that it's going to continue to consolidate at this level, staying at roughly in the $8 to $10 range, and it's currently sitting at around $9, and I don't see it changing that much anytime soon. So the overall performance is steady supply, limited upside, keep the Winter Offensive case comfortable in the C tiers, but not particularly exciting as an investment. Next up, we've got the Operation Phoenix case, and I'm putting this one in the A tier, sitting between the Horizon case and the Fever case. The year-to-date performance has been solid at around 35%, showing steady and consistent growth. The supply of this case is sitting at around 4.5 million cases, with roughly 150,000 unboxings every month and only about 16,000 new drops. That means more are being opened than added, which is always a healthy sign for future price movement. The skins in this case are some of the most iconic in CS2. I'm a big fan of the Alp Asimov and the AK Red line. Both are timeless play skins that still hold great value and popularity today. On top of that, the knife selection in this case is also really strong, which adds even more long-term demand. My price prediction for this case is sitting at around $7.50, up about from $6 today, which is roughly a 25% increase. So, overall, great skins, strong knives and a healthy unboxing to drop ratio make the Operation Phoenix case a great A tier pick, sitting right between the Horizon and the Fever case. And finally, we have the Huntsman case, and I'm putting this one in the C tier. The year-to-date performance is around 5.3%, so it's basically been flat, not losing value, but not showing much growth either. There are about 4 million cases in supply with roughly 45,000 unboxings per month and about 16,000 new drops. That means the supply is slowly decreasing, but not by much. The case itself is pretty expensive, it's around $11, so that's pretty expensive to open. And the only thing that actually matters in this case is the AK-47 Vulcan, which is one of the most iconic AK-47 skins in the game. Outside of that, there's not much going for it. The ROI is average at around 60%, and the rest of the skin pool doesn't really stand out compared to other cases. My price prediction for 1 year from now on, that it will stay pretty much flat, holding around its current value of $11, since I don't see much demand growth coming anytime soon. So, overall, high price, low growth and limited appeal outside of the Vulcan. Keep the Huntsman eyes in the C tier. And that's a wrap on my CS2 case tier list. We've gone through every major case, breaking them down by skins, ROI supply and overall investment potential. Remember, this is just my personal opinion, based on the data and market trends I've been tracking. Always do your own research before investing or buying into any of these cases. If you have made it this far, I really appreciate you. Let me know in the comments which cases you think I underrated or overrated and where you would rank them yourself. If you enjoy data-driven CS2 market content like this and want to stay ahead of the trends, make sure to subscribe and drop a like, because I'll be updating this tier list whenever new cases drop or market shifts happen. Thanks again for watching, good luck with your investments, stay sharp, and I will see you in the next one.